Welcome to Patreon Goes Postal. You sent me some messages. I'm going to read them and respond to them. So, there's our letter. So, as I promised last week, I'm going to get to the dueling questions. Antonio Contos asks, so I recently got challenged to a duel by a guy who likes to go to talk smack all day, all because I asked a girl he was interested in on a date. I don't know if I should go fight this dude with his chosen weapons, 1,850-foot officer swords from the Civil War. I think he meant like 1850 era officer swords, I don't know. Or should I just ignore him and enjoy a great date with this girl? I think that you should probably just, go on the date and maybe not fight each other with swords from the Civil War. That's just me. I don't know. Entirely up to you though. I don't know if this guy's going to take no for an answer. I don't know if he's already slapped you with his dueling glove. So there's a lot of unknowns here. But I would just go with live your life and not worry about this fucking chud that thinks that he's entitled to some girl that probably doesn't have any interest in him anyway. Dr. Panda asks, he's got a few questions, but we'll just ask number 3. Do you think dueling should be brought back? I don't know why there were 2 dueling questions in the last group of questions, but I don't know. I think that dueling is maybe a fine way to end your disputes, but there's probably better ways to do it as well, and maybe we shouldn't go about trying to murder each other over the most asinine of grievances, but that's just me. I don't know. Again, feel free to do whatever you guys want. Erica Foster asks, if you has to live in the USA, where would you live? Do Canadians think the broadcast accent sounds weird, like the standard Ohio accent? Maybe a video about accents in general would be fun. All Canadians don't sound the same, do they? I've always said if I had to live in the US, especially since, well, it hasn't really been that cold this year, but sometimes it gets pretty cold here, and I think I would move to somewhere like Arizona, where it's nice and dry. I've heard other voice-over talent move to Arizona for whatever reason that have been in Canada. I don't know if it was really by choice or what the deal was behind that, but that's what they decided to do. And I don't really hear a difference between my accent personally and the accent of a lot of other northern United States accents, of course, aside from, say, Boston or New Jersey accents, but I'm not really hearing a major difference. But do all Canadians sound the same? No, we here in Ontario actually have a lot of, and especially southwestern Ontario, have a lot of call centers here servicing Americans because our accent is relatively neutral. You can hear it when I say about or house, apparently, but outside of that, you're not really hearing real weird accents versus, say, in the Maritimes or even Northern Ontario, where they all sound like they're in Letterkenny. That, like, the typical, hey, bud, what the fuck are you talking about there, eh, bud? Or the really more high-pitchy Atlantic Canada accent that's sort of like, hey, what the fuck are you talking about there, eh, bud? Which I don't have, but I guess I can do if I needed to. Jason Rushing asks, the planet is about to blow up, and the only way to save the planet is to sing every single word of a song that is at least 3 minutes long exactly correctly. Not perfect pitch, just perfect lyrics. What song are you singing to save my life? Well, Jason, I didn't check what tier you're in before I did this, so if we were only talking about your life, I'll probably just stay silent for 3 minutes. But if it's a song that it's about 3 minutes, it has to be exactly 3 minutes long, and it's going to save the planet. There are, I looked up some songs that were about 3 minutes that maybe I could trim 1 second off if I had to. I came up with Metro Station's Shake It. So after I got done singing, then everyone would want to kill themselves anyway, and nothing was spared. Or the song Thunder Horse by Death Clock. So I think I would choose Death Clock's Thunder Horse over Metro Station's Shake It. Joe asks, do you ever experience imposter syndrome? Yeah, actually, this is my real voice, and I always worry that you guys are gonna notice that. No, imposter syndrome, by the way, is when you people like you or they like your work. In the sense of, for me, Adosa Buckley having 500,000 subscribers or more, and people wanting to give me money to support that, and me not thinking I'm good enough to do that. And I think that every person, every creative person goes through those moments for sure at some point in time where they think, yeah, I'm probably, I don't know why the fuck I'm doing this. I can't imagine that anyone really likes me. What the fuck is even happening? Fuck, I'm terrible, and that kind of thing. Everyone has those moments, but for the most part, I've managed to stuff it down by knowing that I'm just better than everyone else, and it's not a big deal for me. So, Maddie Dos Santos says, how do you feel about the institution of marriage? Do you think it's outdated, or does it still have merit in modern times? I've done many videos about marriage. I made a video one time. It was a real swerve where I was saying about how I don't think that gay marriage should be legal because I don't think any marriage should be legal. And I don't, maybe that's a little bit far. I don't think that we need to outlaw marriage. Obviously, it's a joke. I'm a comedian, I think. Let's see the previous question. But I think that if I don't really see the merit in it a lot of times for certain aspects of it. If you want to live with someone and they help pay for your mortgage, pay your rent, if you want to even list them as a codependent on your taxes and gain the benefits from that, you actually can without having to specifically get married. In many places, at least here in Canada, I know that you can do that and file jointly and all those things as what we call essentially common law marriage, and where you're living together with someone for a extended period of time, and hey, now the government says you guys are essentially married, so just whatever. If you guys want to file that way or you live your lives that way, then we'll consider it essentially married. But I don't really see the point at all anymore in weddings or spending tens of thousands of dollars on getting married, on having a big fucking party for a bunch of people that you probably don't really even like, right? You're really just doing it to show off at that point. And I think that just have, 20 people over to your house, people that you really like, and then do that. And then do a separate party for your family. You do one for your friends that's like good, right? And then you do one for your family that like, who gives a shit, right? Because they're not going to get along. They're all going to fight. Your fucking, the girlfriend or your wife's parents, right? And the husband's parents, they're going to fucking clash and, whatever. Just let them get liquored up and be assholes to each other, right? And then you have your friend's party where these people all like each other already, and it's probably going to be a lot more of a relaxed atmosphere. Lee Swayze says, I remember seeing or hearing somewhere you were a Borderlands fan. If you could design a gun, what would it be? P.S. They need to get a Buckley-voiced gun ASAP. So, to the creators of Borderlands, 2K Games, or whoever the fuck made those games, I'm available. So, just, give me a call. Yes, I am a Borderlands fan. I've played all the Borderlands games. And if I was to design a gun, if I could design a gun, what would it be? I guess it would have to be like a Sonic's gun, right? Like, so you shoot someone and it implants like a Nicki Minaj song in their head or something like that playing, and it's just playing on loop and just fucking drives them crazy. So that's not really going to be great against psychos probably because they're already fucking crazy. But, other enemies, right? And it's going to probably take a long time for them to die because they're not going to maybe shoot themselves right away, although maybe if you get the right song they would. So this design actually sounds fucking terrible, but you asked me, I answered. Abdullah Murad asks, what was your first job? I've talked about this in a few videos. My first official job was being a carnival barker. I worked for the balloon darts. I didn't work for the balloon darts. I worked in a balloon darts stall. So if you want to know the secret to balloon darts, it's not that the darts are dull. It's not that the balloons are only partially filled up or anything like that. It's all a money game. So the idea there is it's a trade-up game. In Canada, they very strict on games of chance or games of essentially illegal games. There's a cat scratching at my door right now. Games where it's rigged against you. So instead, what they do is you pay $5. You throw your 3 darts. If you pop 3 balloons, you win the big prize, right? Well, the large prize is, something like this. Right? It's like not very big, right? And then they tell you, if you only pop 1 dart, well, you get the small prize. Small prize is something like this, right? And if you get a large prize, hey, give me $5 more. You do 3 more balloons like that, we're going to give you another large prize. You get 2 large prizes, you can trade it up for the extra large prize. The extra large prize is maybe like this big or something like that, right? If the largest is this is the extra large, right? And then they say, well, how do I get one of those big ones up there, right? How do I get one of those giant teddy bears? Well, in order to get one of those, bring a hot girlfriend. But if you want to get one of those, well, 2 extra larges get you to the double extra large, 2 double extra larges gets you to this, so on and so forth, and you eventually trade up until you've got yourself the giant prize, right? So that's how that works. Sometimes what they'll do is there'll be a little star on the board, and they'll say if you put 3 darts in the star, we'll give you, we'll give you the big, like the extra large prize first, or the double extra large prize first, or things like that, right? The way they've got the way they've got the star set up is it's a little bit higher than most people's average for throwing darts, and the distance is also different, so it's weird. And then of course the darts suck. They aren't dull for the sake of because they're dull because like, oh, they're trying to rig the game. They're dull because they sit in a fucking bin all day and no one sharpens them, no one's taking care of them. They're shitty plastic darts, the flights are kind of bent. And again, that's not because to try and rig the game, it's just because they're beat up and that's how they're traveled and they're just garbage darts. So we have, on occasion, if someone challenges us, they say, oh, well, I want to bring my own darts from home. We'll say, yeah, fucking bring your own darts from home. And bring your own darts from home there, bud. And it's fine because you're still not going to hit it because, the distance is different than a dartboard. The height's different. Everything about it is very different, and you're not putting 3 in that fucking star. So, and sometimes you could do some other things there, but ultimately, that's how balloon darts works. And for a tutorial on more carnival games, perhaps I will do a series called Buckley Exposes Carnival Games. But I think there's a whole bunch of those on YouTube now, so if you want to learn how that one with the plates, dropping the plates on the circle goes, that's there on YouTube. If you want to know about the ball and the bucket, again, it's all there on YouTube. The D-Man of No asks, in your opinion, what is the most unappealing porn of them all? I don't know if you mean like a specific one, like a specific video title or something like that, but I'm going to have to go with any of this step shit, right? It's too weird, although the joke is that if you mute all step porn, it's just regular porn now. Because it's all fake, right? Like every other thing in pornography, it's all fake. They're actors, they're not actually stepbrother and stepsister, but why this genre has taken off, why it's so popular, it boggles my mind. It's real fucking weird, and really says a lot about perhaps North America, and that every single person is basically Michael Cera from Arrested Development. But it's bizarre, and I don't condone it. That's what I have to say. I'm gonna be a prude about that part of it. You watch all the porn you want, but that step shit, don't fucking watch that. And Newly asks, this is a small thing, but I've always wondered whose cat it was in the Jason's Japinions videos. Was it yours? I suppose by some sort of definition it's mine now, but the cat that you see, Rick, from Jason's Opinions is my girlfriend's cat. She has two cats, which the other cat you saw perhaps in the April Fool's video I did a couple of years ago, the Brogan Lols video, where he pranks a cat for April Fool's, because of course, you know, pets don't get to take part in April Fool's like humans do, and so they don't get to have the fun of that. But you got to see another cat, so let's go see if I can find a cat real quick. There we go, here's a cat. I forget what I called this cat in the video. Its real name is Artemis, and she does not like being held this way. Try and pick her up this way. Yeah, you can see she's just a pain in the ass, so we're gonna let her go. Fuck, now I got cat hair all over myself. Patrick asks, if I remember rightly, you said in a video that you went to Japan on holiday. Me and my mates are going next year, and I wanted to know if there was anything you did while you were there that you definitely recommend, or something you did that you might not find out in the usual tourism guide. For the most part, we didn't go on tours or anything like that. I did mention in my last Patreon Goes Postal video that I went to Japan and didn't buy hentai, so this is a little bit of a different question. But yeah, so we didn't go by any sort of tourism guide specifically, but we did do pretty touristy things. But we went to Akihabara, which is the what they call Electric Town or whatever. It's the place where all the weebs go to buy statues, and there's like 3 different Sega arcades and a bunch of other arcades and different little malls and things like that that are in there. Their malls, of course, stack up, so every it's kind of like a flea market where you go in and there's all these different vendors, and they're all selling used video games, statues, toys, a lot of buttons. They love buttons there. And things that you could get out of gotchas, so there's whole stalls dedicated to old gotcha merchandise and things like that. That's the like capsule toys. And so we went through a lot of that kind of stuff. But my favorite part of the trip, I think anyway, was when we went to Kabukicho, which is the model for Kamurocho in the Yakuza series of video games. So if you actually go to the gates of Kabukicho and you start walking, it is modeled almost exactly. Like if you know that map in Yakuza, you're going to be able to find your way around pretty well. Certain stores aren't exactly where they were or anything like that. Like I don't even know if there is still a Don Quixote in the area, but that is a real store, the Don Quixote. And the parking lot in the back corner is exactly where it is. And there's a VR arcade where the VR arcade was in Judgment, one of the other Yakuza games in the Yakuza series. And there's all sorts of just real interesting landmarks. And of course, Millennium Tower is a giant hotel that is very visible from outside of the gates of Kabukicho. And you know what they call the Champion District, that's the Golden Guy District. You'll find that in many tour guides because it is it's about 200 or 250 tiny bars. Each bar has seating for maybe 10 people or something like that. And it's really cool, but there's lots of signs that say whether you are allowed in or not, that actually says like, we don't speak English or no foreigners or things like that, which in Japan they can get away with, I guess. So that's what's going on there. And you can go into some of these different little bars. We went into one and we sat there had a drink or two, and it's very tiny. There's a TV over on the wall that was showing baseball at the time. I think it was their version of the World Series when we went. And it's very interesting to see all these tiny little bars and how it boggles my mind how they all operate with such small customer base, but they obviously managed to do it. I wouldn't be surprised given that is considered the red light district. That's where you go if you want to go see the robot show. Which you can look up if you're not familiar with the robot show, or it's where you can go, you probably won't be able to get in, but for hostess clubs, where you pay to have women talk to you, I believe that their versions of bikini bars or strip clubs are there, but I don't think that full nudity is legal in their strip clubs. I'm not 100% sure. Didn't go into one, sorry. But that is where a lot of that stuff is. There's a few maid cafes there as well. Maid cafes are where girls are dressed up as maids and they come and dote on you and serve you coffee and shit like that, and it's very expensive. Again, didn't go. We got a lot of flyers handed to us for these types of things, and I was just like, I'm not paying fucking, $20 equivalent US dollars for a fucking coffee so that a girl in a maid outfit can bring it to me. But if that's your thing, you go right ahead, and they're very open for you. And finally, we have Illyriel. I don't know if that's it's Illyrriel. I don't know how to say your name, so I do apologize, but I'm going to answer your question, so hopefully that's sorry enough. While working in radio, what was your worst on-air fuck-up, and does it haunt you to this day? Mixing words, mispronouncing something horrendously, etc. I'll tell you two stories. One, not really that embarrassing, but it was very early on, and I was just supposed to wish someone a happy birthday, and for some reason it came out as birthday. It's just weird, right? So I was like, and happy birthday to, and it just meant my co-host kind of looks at me like, what? Why did you say birthday? Why did you say that like that? Like you've said the word birthday a million times. You can't say it on air. But for some reason that happened. Doesn't really haunt me. It's just kind of funny very early on in my career. I wouldn't say this haunts me, but it's a funny one. Not quite radio, but I was doing some voiceover work for a company that I was doing their phone. I was doing their on-hold voiceover. They sent me a script that they wanted read, and in it said crowd-pleasing. I was supposed to say crowd-pleasing appetizers or something like that, right? It was talking about food offerings that they had at this venue, and I think that was it. Let's just say it was crowd-pleasing appetizers. So I voiced it over, and when you're doing voiceover work, you tend to fuck up a bunch of times like that, and you just edit it out. So instead, I said cloud-pleasing. I'm reading the script, and cloud-pleasing, and I said, cloud-pleasing? Fucking fuck. And then I take a breath and I go, and crowd-pleasing appetizers. Now the idea is that I'm going to edit that out and not send it to the client. So what do? I put the music bed under it and I send it to the client saying, and cloud-pleasing, fucking fuck. And I send it to them. Luckily, they listened to it first and said to me, they sent it back and they said, I think that you might have forgotten to edit something out of this. And they were good sports about it, and I didn't lose my job, so that was good news, but that was probably one of the worst fuck-ups that I ever did. Actually, no, I'm going to tell you a third story. I was doing some voiceover work, and this was more disrespectful than anything, I guess, whatever, but I had said a customer wanted a Veterans Day promo done. And so just to kind of warm up my voice and thing, I'll just say or do weird things just to kind of get the voice going before I do some voiceover. And so I go into this song. I start going, Veterans Day. Ho, it's Veterans Day. And then I go and record, and so on and so forth. And I send them the file. But I sent them my raw file that was my voiceover. I didn't send them the ad. So it starts with like 10-15 seconds of silence and then goes into Veterans Day. And I'm thinking, holy shit, this looks bad. Like, this is not going to go well for me. And so luckily for me, I don't even think they noticed. I don't even think they listened to it. I sent them a message immediately, like probably within a minute, saying, sorry about that, here is the actual voiceover for you, this is the actual promotion, the other thing I sent you was the raw file, it is not a representative of anything, and I do apologize for sending that to you. They never even replied back. So again, probably worked out for me. I probably could have got fired for that. Maybe not, but anyway, those are a couple fun stories for you about fucking up, doing my job. Anyway, that does it for this edition of Patreon Goes Postal. I do have some other questions that I haven't got to from the original batch of questions that I might like to get to at some point. There were still some good questions in there. However, if you do have other questions for me and you want to send those in, feel free to do so. Message me on Patreon, and we will hopefully get to those questions in a future edition. Thanks for watching.